Good morning, everyone, and welcome to your neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Suzanne. I have our announcements for the coming week. Spirit Choir, who you just heard singing this morning, our gathering music, rehearses every Monday night from 7 to 9. If you're interested in joining the choir, talk to me after service, because tomorrow we start a new round of music that will be our last choir round for this congregational year. Lifespan Learning is seeking volunteers to be with the children on Sunday mornings. You can speak with Julia, there's Julia, if you can help out with the kids. Yoga happens here in Rafos Hall on the 8th, 15th, and 22nd this month. Those are Wednesday evenings from 7:30 until 9. Contact Christina for more info. And the current show in our gallery continues until the end of the month. You're welcome to check it out after service or anytime during the week. You can come in and take your time viewing the pieces. Neighborhood Caring Circle. The Caring Circle provides care and support to congregants in times of need. These things could include talking on the phone with folks, sending cards, home and hospital visits, providing transportation to appointments, etc. You can speak with Rev Pat Trudeau to find out more about our Caring Circle. Thanks, Pat. The Danforth Multi-Faith Commons, of which we are a part, is hosting a social justice speaker series on harm reduction and the opiate crisis. That's this Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. here in Rafos Hall. The speakers will be Dr. Leah Steele and Jason Altenberg, as well as 2 harm reduction workers with personal experience of opiate use. All are welcome. Bring anyone you know that would be interested in learning more about this. Circle music. We're going to be experiencing a little circle music later in the service today. It's improvised music making. We, as in Jane Lewis and I, run a session once a month, and our May session is happening next Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. Drop by if you're curious and want to try more. It's a lot of fun and practice of really being in the moment and owning your voice. Conversations on Racism in Canada, happening once this month and once in June from 1 to 2:30. This is presented by Reverend Pat and Dr. Wilburn Hayden. Participants will be able to engage in a discussion of interpersonal and systemic racism in Canada. Our goal is to foster deeper understandings necessary for moving towards dismantling effects of white supremacy and colonialism. More details about this will be in our Monday announcement. Town Hall on Sunday services. We would like your feedback. That's happening Sunday, May 26th after service from 12:30 to 2. How do you think our services are going? Have you got ideas about what you would like to see, hear, feel, experience when we come together Sunday mornings? The Sunday service planning team is holding a town hall to take your feedback about this year's service and themes and hear ideas for next year. We will also get an update on our current interim ministerial search. Come out and help shape another year of spiritual growth and exploration in this community. Sacred Circle Dancing is happening Saturday, May 11th. That's this Saturday in the morning, 9:45 to noon in the Herndale Room. Come join our monthly dance, facilitated by the Toronto Sacred Circle Dancers. Simple, repetitive steps are taught and danced in a ritualized circle to music. No experience is necessary. All are welcome, and you can speak to Maura to learn more about Sacred Circle Dancing. Do you get our Monday weekly email, which includes all the details of activities going on at Neighborhood? And if not, would you like to? If yes, write to our office manager, Hala, and her email is office@nuuc.ca to be included on our weekly mail out. Question to the community for today. How do you see creativity working in your life? Our whole service will be exploring various types of creativity, and we'd love to hear from you. Our services are created by our staff and volunteers, including myself, Suzanne Mazars, the music director, Julia Thompson, our Lifespan Learning Director, Rev Pat Trudeau, our Contract Minister. Jillian Newcomb is not our service weaver today, it is Debb Bertazzon. Hi Deb. You're not Jillian, you're Deb. Joe Stokowski's on our AV desk, and Mark Tim is running our Zoom in the back room. We thank our greeters, our counters, LL volunteers, kitchen fairies, all of whom are named in the cappuccino room. And next Sunday, May 12th, we continue exploring the spirit of creativity with Art as a Spiritual Practice. This will be led by Lauren Renzetti and Kathleen Ray. Music will be provided by our own spirit band. Our service weaver will be Kurt Thompson, and Time for All Ages with Julia Thompson.
Thank you, Suzanne. What a busy congregation we are, eh? Very active. How nice. Good morning, beautiful life forces. Welcome to our Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Congregation service. Thank you for joining us, whether you're here in the sanctuary or on Zoom. My name is not Jillian Newcomb. My name is Debb Bertazzon, and as always, it's such a pleasure to be with you as your service weaver this morning. Now, there are a few important steps in the creation of sacred space. Let's start with electronics. Sacred space is fragile and very easily damaged by distracting devices. So if you haven't done so yet, please turn them all off now. Next, let's ground ourselves so that we can be fully present within this unique sacred space that we're co-creating today. For a moment, notice your surroundings and feel your presence within it. Now feel the presence of other beings, knowing that the combined creative energy of all souls gathered are blending together this morning. And because of this sacred space that we are creating together on this remarkable day is one of a kind. And now I invite you to join me in reciting our invocation to bring us to our threshold moment. Let us cast a circle.
Let us cast a circle of a cherished space here, a space of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in our space and in ourselves the seeds that grow a different kind of life of graciousness, of creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves and our families.
This morning, our chalice is going to be lit by one of the artists who is displaying his work in our monthly show, Chris Emanuel. Thank you, Chris, and now over to the choir.
Our opening song for the service today was written for the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and originally sang by, who played Willy Wonka? Gene Wilder. Wilder, thanks, Gene Wilder in the film. Have folks seen this film? Yes. Yeah. So, in terms of creativity, the creativity of Roald Dahl to come up with the story for this amazing book turned film, and then this song was created to accompany it. And we have Julia Thompson doing the solo this morning. Thank you, Julia.
What
Thank you, Spirit Choir and Kurt. Oh, there we go. I don't know why, but I as you were singing, I was picturing you all with balloons and like rising up. I don't know why. It was in my imagination, let's just say. Well, here we are, today and always. Let us not forget that our congregational building is on the traditional land and territories of the Wendat, the Anishinaabe, the Mississauga, and the Haudenosaunee nations. I offer my gratitude to all of our First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people for their teachings about Mother Earth, co-creation, and community. Please take a moment to reflect upon the land that you are sitting on. Thank you. As you can see, Rev Lynn Harrison is with us again today. Now, for those of you who do not know Rev Lynn, she's not only a UU minister who actually was ordained here at Neighborhood, but also a gifted artist, singer, and songwriter. Such a pleasure to have her back today as our special guest, Spinger. You heard me right. Spinger, speaker singer. Spinger. Okay, I thought that would flop, but I think that went pretty well. I was going to try to be creative somewhere in the service. That's good. Thank you for laughing. Anyways, welcome back, Rev Lynn. A couple of first Sunday of the month reminders that we usually do. Parents with young children may want to take advantage of our optional wiggle room. The door is open. That's a place where you can hear the service. It's piped in, but not be heard. And the room can also be used as a quiet personal space if anyone chooses to do that at any point. Number 2, we have assisted listening devices at the sound desk. Joanne will pass them over to you if you think you might benefit from using one. Here at Neighborhood, we're open to many beliefs and we learn from many traditions. We welcome all people looking for spiritual community. If you're visiting us for the first time here at the sanctuary, thanks for checking us out. If you can, we encourage you to stay afterwards for bevy and snack time. We always change how we say that. If you like, you can take a red mug, and that'll signal us that you're interested in talking to us about Neighborhood, and we'd love to hear what brought you here today. Our services can vary from week to week, so we encourage you to sample several and get a better feel for who we are. For starters, our mission here at Neighborhood is to empower spiritual growth and shared action for the care of the world. Our theme for May is the spirit of creativity. And today we're examining the world of creativity. So of course this has been on my mind for a couple of weeks now as I was preparing for today. In my work as a therapist supporting young people, I usually do some sort of right brain creative check-in each session. Okay, I'd like you to draw how you're feeling right now, I say. During COVID, we had to pivot like everyone did, and we started using the whiteboard, which added a whole slew of added dynamics, but we don't have time to talk about that. But whether virtual or in person, during the first session or two, this request is often met with some resistance, not simply about exploring feelings, as one might think, but I often hear comments like, I'm not a good drawer, I'm not very creative. And in general, I see a lack of confidence in their abilities. My response is always the same. It doesn't matter what it looks like. There's no wrong way to do this. So we get curious. Let's see what happens when you don't have to use words. Most seem to understand the whole process versus product concept, and that reduces their anxiety and frees them up to draw as much or as little as they want. Interestingly, as they work on their visual creation of their feelings, I almost always notice a slowdown as they focus. Sometimes even laughter, especially when they're drawing digitally, which isn't easy. I don't know if you've tried that. It's not that easy. The relaxation I observe is calming of their autonomic nervous system. I can also hear the difference in their voices when we move to part 2. In a quieter, less threatened state, they are able to comfortably use their left thinking brain to put words to the meaning of their piece as I document what they say. And the more consistently we do creative check-ins as part of our sessions, I also observe less self-consciousness, less inhibition, and what appears to be a sense of safety. So why am I telling you all this? Because my experience has shown me that using our creativity can positively impact our nervous systems. And while the creative expressions of my clients are not shared with the world, it can certainly impact how they live and engage in the world, even if it's just for a short time during or after therapy each week. In the words of Julia Cameron, author of The Artist's Way and many other books, creativity flourishes when we have a sense of safety and self-acceptance. She also says, art is not thinking something up, it's the opposite, getting something down. So now it's time to greet our neighbors. After you've greeted some of the folks around you, don't forget to turn to the camera and greet those that are on Zoom. Suzanne will, you'll do the chime to signal that we're finished. So let's take a moment to greet each other.
I welcome you to stay standing and feel your feet on the ground and get grounded. We are going to co-create a sound world together. As Debb said, there is no right or wrong way for us to do this. We are bringing our whole selves, which includes our voices, our individual, unique voices, and where we're at, and what we're feeling into this moment to become one sound world, one people together. How are we going to do that, Suzanne? This is how we're going to do that. I invite you all to sing a long tone on any vowel and any note that feels right for the moment. And as we do this, it may clash with the neighbor beside you, and isn't that wonderful? The diversity of notes that are available to us. But actually, I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen because we're going to feel this together. So we're going to take like a couple of minutes of doing that. I invite you to just sing out a note into the space and share it with all the folks that have gathered here this morning. And when your air is through, you could offer a new note or just hang back and listen to what's happening in the room. And when you feel called, offer another note into the shared collective. We're going to create like a soundscape of who we are right now in this moment. We're going to co-create that together. Anyone can start, and we'll do it for a couple of minutes. Thank you, everyone, for the beautiful gift of your voices this morning.
I'm guessing your autonomic nervous systems are calming. Check it out. Check out your breathing. Your autonomic nervous system is what kicks in, our brain kicks in when, well, definitely when we're under threat, but it also is our breathing, our heart rate, things that we need to exist, really. Okay, Julia.
Hi. So my name is Julia, and this is the Time for All Ages. And I do not have my magic toadstool with me because I want to do something different today. And heads up, I'm going to be asking for volunteers. So I love to create stories, like the ones I tell during the Time for All Ages. And creativity is all about discovering and exploring, and we all have this. We just have to be open to it. And I get my ideas from all sorts of places. For instance, not long after I arrived here at Neighborhood, I started coming here to Neighborhood, the service was finished, what did you call it, Deb? I like the name for the coffee and the bevy.
Bevy and snack time.
The bevy and snack time was finished. People were starting to leave. So I went into the coat area to get my jacket, and I felt in my pocket for my gloves. But I felt something, and it was hard and cold and smooth. And I thought, what is this? I sort of sensed. I took it out of my pocket, and it was a potato. And I thought, my mind was racing in all different directions. I thought, is somebody trying to give me some kind of a message? Does the potato represent something? Is it like a sign from somewhere? Did other people get this potato in their pocket? Raise your hand. I don't know. Did anybody get a potato? I was the only one, and I still can't figure out how. It was a mystery. And I thought, hey, this would make a great story. So that's what I did in my creative writing group. I created this story about this mysterious potato that appeared, and I made it kind of suspenseful and funny and everything. So I had fun with it. So I thought that today it might be fun for us to create a story together. And a good place to start when you're not used to telling a story is with story cards. So I'm asking for 7 volunteers to help me tell this story. So you're just going to stand here. Let me just explain, because I know that before you volunteer for something, you want details, right? So these are the details. I will give you a card. You'll show everybody your card. You'll also just describe it in 1 or 2 words, what's happening on your card. And after we have all done this, then I'm going to start. And I'm going to say 1 or 2 very short sentences about this picture. And I'm going to leave off just before I say what's happening on the next card. So the next card, the person standing next to me, that's going to be my clue as to where my story is headed. Is that clear? Yeah? Okay. So, and I mean, we're just going to have fun with it. So whatever happens, happens, right? So 7 volunteers. Could I have some kids first? Any kids who want to volunteer? It's not going to be difficult. It's just going to be just fun. Thank you. All right, so there. You want to stand next to me there? And you can have this one next to your brother there. Here, let's just stand in front of the chalice here, not too close, maybe a little bit closer there. Wonderful. And then you're going to have this one. And yeah, anybody else want to volunteer? Yay! There. And there. There. Now, Steve, you are going to have the job of completing the story. But I know you can do it. I know you have stories in you for sure. All right. So, I have a picture of a kid running through the forest, trying to escape from something. Do you want to hold it up? Oh, sorry. Wait. I want to be on the bit here. I'm going to hold it. Nope, I'm going to hold it. Talk into it.
I have a witch that's gesturing for somebody to come over.
Very good.
I have a sort of fat frog that looks like a king.
I tried to cover up the crown, so can you show it? Thank you. What do you have, Cameron?
I have I think maybe like a fairy godmother.
Do you show it?
I have an individual with a hat with a feather in it.
I have a goblin pretending to be a leprechaun.
And I've got its bag of gold.
I've got a boat on the sea.
Nice. All right. So, once upon a time, a kid was running through the forest because there was someone chasing him. It was a
Witch gesturing for him to come over and chasing him at the same time. But then
What happened?
But then the boy tripped on a rock and fell into the water and was saved by a
Sort of fat frog that looked like a king. And then his fairy godmother appeared.
And then a person appeared with a feather in his hat and said to the fairy godmother, "Where is that little boy? We're looking for that little boy."
The little boy was actually meeting a goblin who was pretending to be a leprechaun and decided to trick him that he was thinking he was going to get
A bag of gold. But it wasn't a bag of gold. It was a bag of dirt.
But he was happy with the bag of dirt and sailed away happily to his home to donate dirt to his community.
Thank you.
You know that we're getting more young people in the congregation when you had to play that extra beat there. Okay, so the question for the community, do we have that slide, Joanne? Perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll take a couple from in the sanctuary and then we'll turn it over to Mark, who will see if there's anyone on Zoom. So I'll just watch the time. So here we go. This is the question for the community. How do you see creativity working in your life?
When I paint with acrylics, I'm learning a new technique called, oh my gosh, what's it called? A Dutch pour. And you pour all these paints in together and swirl them around, and I disappear. Like, time just disappears, and I'm so into the colors and just the art of creating and the feeling of the brush. It just de-stresses me, and it just makes me feel like I'm pretty special sometimes.
Thank you.
I find that creativity comes to me at the times when I think I don't have enough to be creative, enough time, enough resources, a very expensive paint set that I think I need before I can put something pretty down on paper. I find this in my work a lot too. I try to run creative programs in a sector that is forever underfunded. And sometimes when we are at our program material budget and we think, oh, we don't have the stuff we need to run this arts program, we are forced to get creative. We cut our fabric paint stamps out of potatoes or make crafts out of garbage, and everything turns out fine.
Thank you. I can take one more from the sanctuary.
So for me, creativity is energy. Everything's energy, but creativity too, a kind of energy. And when we create something, we're creating a packet of energy that we then can transfer to whoever. And so when we read something that was written many years ago and it strikes a chord with us, that's that person's energy being passed to us over time.
Thank you. Mark, over to you, if there's anyone on Zoom that would like. Thanks, Mark. And thank you, everyone, for those diverse responses.
So as the choir begins to make their way up to the upper balcony, where they will offer musical meditation for us today, let's find a balanced way of sitting. Just relaxing into your chair, feeling the weight of your body, and feeling the connection of your feet on the floor, connecting you to the earth and to all that is. If you wish, you may close your eyes or just let your gaze rest in soft focus. Take a moment to connect with your breath. Breathe deeply, knowing that life is changing all around us. There are many sensations that you may be noticing. Be aware of the sounds as the choir continues to move, of the feeling of air moving in the sanctuary, of the temperature on your skin, of the thoughts that are in your mind, the feeling of your muscles as they relax or as you notice any tension. Notice how life is in constant motion, everything changing in both small and large ways from moment to moment, everything joining and separating and joining again in the natural rhythm of life's wholeness. Simply meet yourself where you are in this moment. In a moment, the choir will offer meditative music. Just allow it to carry you where you need to be, where you need to go right now, right here. And then after the choir finishes the musical meditation, there will be an open space. I will not be speaking, and there will not be silence. There will simply be an openness for life to continue to unfold in surprising ways, in unexpected ways, in sound and sensation. After the choir sings, just allow that space and be with yourself, your body, your breath, and your spirit where you are now. And now I invite the choir to continue our meditative time this morning. want to thank the choir and everyone else who has made a creative contribution to this service today, and I would include everyone here, whether you have spoken or whether your presence has simply been your creative offering today. I'd like to start my message on creativity today with words of wisdom from Mirabai Starr. Mirabai Starr is a writer and teacher who draws from the contemplative paths of many faith traditions. This is from her book, Wild Mercy. A miraculous event unfolds when we throw the lead of our personal story into the transformative flames of creativity. Our hardship is transmuted into something golden. With that gold, we heal ourselves and redeem the world. As with any spiritual practice, this creative alchemy requires a leap of faith. When we show up to make art, we need to first get still enough to hear what needs to be expressed through us. And then we need to step out of the way and let it. We must be willing to abide in a space of not knowing before we can settle into knowing. Such a space is sacred. It is liminal, and it is numinous. It is frightening and enlivening. It demands no less than everything, and it gives back tenfold. The thing is to allow ourselves to become a vessel for a work of art to come through, and to allow that work to guide our hands. Once we do, we are assenting to a sacred adventure. We are saying yes to the transcendent and embodied presence of the holy. Mirabai Starr. When I think of how art making and creative activity has shaped my life, I can only feel a powerful sense of gratitude, along with a deep sense of being connected to something much, much larger than myself. I've always regarded creative work as a religious or spiritual experience. And I'm thinking of religion, of course, in the sense of its meaning religio, or rebind, reconnect with the larger wholeness. With that in mind, I thought I would give you a glimpse of the sacred adventure involved in the song that I wrote for this service today. For many years, I had wanted to write a song inspired by watercolor painting, which is another creative interest of mine, and a creative interest of Luann and several others here I know. One day recently, I looked out the window on a rainy day, and the phrase, watercolor world, came to mind. I'm thankful for the weather today to also be in line with my message today. I picked up the guitar and improvised an opening line, "Here we are at the waterline," and a chorus arose immediately with "Looking out the window at my watercolor world." Although this had some appeal, it immediately raised the admittedly difficult question, what is this song about? As much as I sometimes think it's up to me to decide that, the song usually knows better than I do. More and more, and especially as I get older, I find it's not so much what do I want to say, but what wants to be said through me. As Mirabai Starr said, the true task is to, as best we can, become a vessel or a channel of the larger creativity of life calling to itself. Obviously, that is a very different perspective than the way our commercial culture often looks at creative expression, as something coming solely from individuals and glorifying those single individuals. But that is another sermon. So, what was this emerging song about? Was it simply about the beauty of nature? For me, that wasn't compelling enough by itself, at least not on that particular day. And as they say, it has been done, and thank God for that. May it be done many, many more times. But not this time. Lately, I've been drawn more deeply toward the exploration of non-dual spirituality, the radical interplay and interdependence of all things. This is a theme I explore in spiritual reading and writing, a universalist idea that we are never truly separate from each other, no matter what very real differences also exist between us. We are always in relationship. Watercolor paint is an excellent metaphor for this idea because of the way the colors run together and combine. And so the chorus changed. I will run to you in my watercolor, watercolor world. I will run to you in my watercolor, watercolor world. Our creative work will meet us where we are. We are both receivers and transmitters of life moving through us, so an idea will find us when we are ready to receive it and not before. Synchronicities will often occur. Soon after I started working on this song, I was reading a book about dreams that I plan to tell you about next month. I arrived at a passage about thin boundaries and the fluidity between all things. The author's description of fluidity, just when I was writing a song about watercolor, was positively wonderful, and it indicated to me that I was on the right track. When I consider that synchronicity in the light of the larger creative process that takes place in all of life, I see that it makes sense. Just as we as individuals invite musical phrases and words to combine and align with one another in our creative expression, life itself brings people and events together in ways that harmonize, sometimes in remarkably elegant and symmetrical ways. This is the world of creativity in all its sacred mystery. Life creates the story by connecting one thing to another in amazingly fitting ways, as we saw in the story Julia and the children created earlier. And yet, as all artists will tell you, and as I know all of you know yourself, whether you call yourself an artist or not, for every moment of synchronistic flow in life, there are many more moments of struggle. Just because we're headed in the right direction doesn't mean it will be an easy journey, nor that we will end up where we expect or perhaps hope to be. Creativity is not only about the spark of inspiration, but about the murk of the messy middle stages, whether it is not clear at all, whether the process, whether the work will come to the form of completion that we hope for. The inspiration stage of the creative process can often feel like what Abraham Maslow called peak experiences. He described them as feelings of limitless horizons opening up to the vision, the feeling of being simultaneously more powerful and also more helpless than one ever was before, the feeling of ecstasy and wonder and awe, and the conviction that something extremely important and valuable has happened. This feeling can come over us also, it seems to me, when we are sparked by a cause, when we engage in activism, or when we begin any new relationship. All of this, after all, is about relationship. And that falling in love peak experience moment can be extremely, extremely seductive and energizing. But what happens next? As the writer Ursula K. Le Guin wrote, based on a passage from the ancient wisdom text, the Tao Te Ching, everybody on earth, knowing that beauty is beautiful, makes ugliness. Everybody knowing that goodness is good makes wickedness. Everybody on earth knowing that beauty is beautiful makes ugliness. Everybody knowing that goodness is good makes wickedness. I grew up with a potter's wheel in the basement of our home. I learned how to work with clay at the same time I was learning how to cook. I often experienced the phenomenon of the collapsed pot. When everything is going really well, and then suddenly it goes completely off the rails, collapses, and there is no choice but to start again. Collapsing happens. Ugliness happens. Mistakes happen. Hurt and sorrow happen. Yet the larger call of creativity invites us to meet the collapse with acceptance, patiently listening for the next call, trusting in ourselves and our sources of deepest meaning, continuing to work and revise and test and revise again until the work naturally reaches some point of completion, not having avoided the pain along the way, and perhaps not becoming what we hoped or expected it would, but becoming a new living thing, neither success nor failure, but something living and worthy of love. In his book, The Spirituality of Imperfection, Ernest Kurtz wrote, "The voices of the sages and the saints insist that it is the struggle itself that defines us. Our many failures give meaning to our few successes. Only when we peer into the abyss can we appreciate the magnificence of heights that are more than mere highs." Predictably, work on this song was difficult. Maybe that's because I was writing it to be part of a sermon. Just saying. There were many times when it didn't seem to flow at all, and when I feared that I was in over my head, which is amusing when you consider that the central metaphor was one of water. Yet at several points in this difficult writing process, I felt the assistance of forces beyond myself. 2 people I loved who had died, both artists, came into my heart and mind. As I was working, I paused and spoke to them, seeking their assistance and expressing my gratitude for their presence. I also thought of a song that I admire that deals with some of the same themes, Joni Mitchell's Shadows and Light. I wanted to avoid plagiarism, of course, but more importantly, I wanted to be guided by a creative ancestor who explored similar territory. I found, as always, that the song had a mind of its own. It was never fully within my control. We were having a conversation of sorts, perhaps at times an argument. Although they weren't referred to directly in this lyric, 2 events informed the creation of the song. One was what I view as the genocide unfolding in Gaza, and the fact that several people whom I consider very dear friends do not see it that way. And I find that baffling and perplexing, and it makes it difficult for me to know how to respond. The other was the trial of Donald Trump, which is taking place at the same time, once again so inexplicable to me that anyone, including relatives of mine in the American South, could continue to hold him in high regard. My spiritual outlook, which is grounded in what's called process theology and the contemplative paths of all faith traditions, teaches me that all things are connected and that everything belongs. Yet I was having trouble with acceptance and non-judgmental awareness. Having thought I understood the concept of unconditional love, I found myself unable to practice it in the larger sphere. And at the same time, I admit I was finding it equally hard to confidently and courageously protest what I am seeing to be unjust. It seemed to me I was only able to unconditionally love on the smallest of small scales, that is, in my ordinary relationships, and to maintain peace with my family and friends. Though even that, I admit, is difficult at times, in part because of my sadness and my own inner conflict. Enter the song. Something to buoy me up and to clarify, if only partially, my muddied feelings about the state of the world and the role I could play in it. Enter the song with perhaps a few good lines, a few that may bear rewriting, and a chorus that reminds me to return again to loving relationship at all times, but especially in times that are confusing and when I feel powerless. Having allowed it to come forward, the task ahead of me now is to nurture and care for this new song like any fragile, new, living thing. In what it says and what it does not say, watercolor has already opened up space in my life for inner reflection, inviting new songs to come. As I've been living with it and getting to know it, I notice that in many ways it is simply another Love is the Answer song. There are already so many Love is the Answer songs, so many Love is the Answer sermons, so many Love is the Answer works of art. So many people want to fill the world with them. And as Paul McCartney said, what's wrong with that? Let me know if I can do anything to assist with the setup here. Joe has been very adaptive this morning because I forgot a piece of technical equipment I should have brought, so I'll take responsibility for that. The waterline as the waves embrace the shore, sinking in these sands of time, I seek your hand once more. I will run to you in my watercolor world. I will run to you in my watercolor world. Once upon a time I thought I saw sun bleeds into blue. Yet love is shining clear somehow, and all I need is you. I will run to you in my watercolor, watercolor world. I will run to you in my watercolor, watercolor world. I will run to you in my watercolor, watercolor world. I will run to you in my watercolor, watercolor world. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate so much your presence.
Thank you, Rev Lynn. Thank you for sharing your beautiful vulnerability. Now is the time for our offertory. Sharing of ourselves is part of every faith. Volunteer efforts are essential, but salaries need to be paid, and programs are created by monetary contributions. Members of neighborhood choose a variety of ways to give, either through offerings in the basket, predated checks, e-transfers, and automatic withdrawals. If you are online, please use this link displayed on the screen, which leads to our donation page on the website. Whichever way you choose to contribute, thank you for your generosity. The greeters will pass the baskets as we listen to the choir.
Can I get the slide, please? I need this.
If you've found love and acceptance here, if you've found home here, if you've known kindred spirits here, let this offering be a token of gratitude for our common life as we build the common Zoom. Good.
invite Chris up to extinguish our chalice.
As is our tradition here at Neighborhood, we close our service. Let's connect physically as we have been spiritually. Well, you're already doing it, taking hands or shoulders as I read the final blessing. Today I leave you with the thoughts from soulful wizardess Martha Stemberger. She says, "We are all artists. Our most precious divine gift is creativity. Therefore, dance your life, sing your song, write your story, create with words, color, clay, yarn, food, make love." Our service has ended. Go in peace and love and embrace your precious divine gift of creativity.